Hello, hello. Welcome to It's Not Just Black and White. It's your girl Rain,
And I'm your girl Whitley. How y'all doing?
and we are coming to you to discuss um, honestly what happened in Tennessee this week and the tragedy that happened around Covenant Presbyterian School. Unfortunately, there was a shooting and allegedly a transgender female went in and shot and killed three kids and three employees. One of the kids was the head pastor of the Covenant Presbyterian Church, his daughter, and one of the employees was the head of the school. So there was a lot that happened in this story, and there's been a lot of different allegations, whether this was a hate crime and whether or not this was targeted. So we just really want to discuss what happened and kind of talk about the feelings and everything that could be involved to in mass shootings. So the first question is, Whitley, gun laws. What should the focus be? Should we have more security in schools, or should we focus on changing gun laws?
Well, I think both settings it should be yes, stricter gun laws. But not only that, there should be more security in schools because time and time again, this continues to happen in our schools and, different places. But I do think that it starts with we have got to be stricter with the gun laws and who is permitted to get those guns and who is permitted, what kind of screening and background are we really doing rather than just anybody can go somewhere and get guns. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we are living in a time where it is very, very scary, scared to go to, your simple grocery store, scared to go to a movie theater, like, anywhere. I mean, because so many people who are not in the right mind frame have access to guns, and can get them very easily. So I do think there needs to be more screening, more done for just anybody just to be able to get access to guns. Um, it's very that situation that happened is very, very tragic. I feel for those families. I feel for the people whose lives were lost. It is a very, very, very tragic time that we're in right now.
But I want to ask too. So let's say we had more restrictions on gun laws. Um, how do you think the government would go about containing that? Because drugs are illegal, but drugs are still everywhere. We have overdoses all the time. So how do you control guns um, and keep them out of the wrong hands?
So to control, well, you made a very good point. Anybody's going to be able to abuse different things. Yeah, we can try to prevent different things from happening, like you just said, with the drugs. We have so many things in place, but people still get them, right? People still have access to them. But I feel like we as a nation need to do all that we can do to protect our schools, to protect people. And even myself, I'm so like against having a gun. Like, I think that's very kind of like it scares me almost. But because of so many things happening, I feel like I talk to my husband all the time and I'm like, maybe I do need to get license to carry and, have me a gun just because you just never know wherever you are. And it's so sad to even say that because, you know, I never would have thought like, going to the Walmart or going to the movies that I have to look around and make sure, like, is anybody, you know what I'm saying? It's just very, very scary. So I don't know. I don't have the answers to how, they can. I just think there more should be done. And I think that, you know, taking the necessary steps that we need to help prevent this from happening.
So, I was also playing devil's advocate a little bit because I do think that there should be tighter gun restrictions. I'm not one against guns. I'm not comfortable with having one, but I'm not against them. I'm not against someone owning a gun inside the home. I was actually reading an article today, and it said there's over 310 million guns in America, and 40% of them are in the home, which that actually says a lot about if 40% of Americans own guns and you don't hear mass shootings all the time. I actually do feel like we are doing very well, but I think we could also do better. I think there's still room for improvement. And I think it's a scary thought when you have children and you send them to school and you don't know if they will be back. I think it's scary as a teacher or an employee of a school that you have to think about the best practices if there is a gun violence situation. In the article, it also talked about the number one cause of death in children and teens is through gun violence. That doesn't mean mass shootings, it means gun violence. And so I was thinking we should have more regulations on best practices for guns because I have a friend here in Nashville. I actually live here in Nashville. I live about 30 minutes from where the shooting happened. I work about 15 minutes away from where the shooting happened. And I think here in Nashville, not Nashville, in Tennessee, I have a friend where she works at, I want to say it's like Dick's or Cabela's, one of those stores that sells guns here. And she is able to, if someone just shows her a piece of paper saying they have a right to own a gun, she could get the gun out for them. She has no training in a gun. Like, she literally has no idea even how to use it. So they could forge a piece of paper, show it to her, and she could bring out that gun, and it is now theirs to own. So I think there should be more regulations in that aspect because I think you should have to prove that you went through classes or something.
Classes, psych, mental health, training. I agree. I think.
And go ahead.
What were you going to say?
The saddest part about it, too, is that this was a private school, and you would think as a private school they would already have high security. So I'm also an advocate for that. I understand the whole public school thing. Unfortunately, it just sucks that those who are not as fortunate to have the income to send your kid to a private school, they have to go to public school. But the private schools, I'm like, out of these kids pay 16 to 30 grand a year, and you're not going to have enough security. Like, where's the money going?
Girl, you say that, but ain't nobody safe.
Yeah.
People shoot up churches, and you think this a church. So it can be, it don't matter. Bullet does not see no color. It doesn't see your income status. Some people are just out here being crazy and need some mental health help. Period. That's point blank, period. It has nothing to do with anything that you just said. It has everything to do with, their mental status and where they're at. But why do you think that, you see that there's so much mass shootings and different things going on in the United States? Do you hear about a lot of that stuff going on in other countries?
Actually, I think it was the UK had a mass shooting or something like that at a school. It killed quite a significant amount of people, and they ended up doing, they had tighter gun law restrictions, and ever since then they haven't had a mass shooting since.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if we can't just keep saying, like what kind of gets me batty is when the news channels and stuff report this, and you have your big time people, whatever, get in the front, and this is a tragedy. We should do, but what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Like, we can't keep saying, oh, this is a tragedy. We need to do so. What are we going to do? Let's go from our peers. If it's not working, it's clearly not working. What we're doing now is not working. So if other countries are not having the same issues, we need to probably seek other countries' help. Like, what are y'all doing to implement this? Or how are y'all we have got to get a hold of this, because our children and our, children, people, period, should not have to keep looking over their shoulder, wondering if somebody's going to come and shoot them or do something crazy. I mean, I know that there's evil in this world, and things do happen, but what are we going to do to help the problem? Because this is obviously a problem that keeps continuing.
That's good. I want to get to the next subject. So Lauren Daigle was supposed to have a concert here on Monday when the shooting took place. And I just want to ask, how do you feel that the Christian singer Lauren Daigle canceled her concert scheduled for a later date and hosted a free community prayer and worship vigil in honor of the victims? Do you feel like she should have canceled it or have continued the concert? And looking at it from a business perspective and then a humane perspective.
So what you mean, like she had, by her canceling, what, she lost a lot of money or something, or?
She didn't lose money because those people, she could get refunds on the ones that didn't want to go to the later show date, but the people who had plans to go see her in concert, they were not going to get the same concert. But so she opened up her concert per se. It was more of like a honorary vigil for the victims. She opened it up to the community for anybody for free, and she was leading worship and prayers for the victims and the families and anyone who wanted to seek any refuge during this time.
Oh, I think that is so awesome. I really do. Because people get so wrapped up in worldly things and what's going on, and some people forget that we are human beings, and human beings lost their lives that day. And so I applaud her for, saying, hey, it's more than just about a concert. I'm going to give a free, we're going to pray together. We're going to fellowship together. Anybody is out here to come out. And so I applaud her for that. I think that's amazing. Because people lost their lives. So it's not something we just look over or, like, okay, they lost their lives and that's so, what's the word I'm looking for?
I think like what it really reflected is she brought the community together during a hard time.
Yes. And people need to see
unifying.
that. Yeah. People need to see that, that we can still come in spite of a tragedy that happened, we can still come together and rally up together and pray for these loved ones, pray for the families, pray for the healing and understanding, and give that peace, So I applaud her for that. I think that's awesome.
Okay, so
wait, what do you think about it?
Oh, no, I agree with you. I think that it really brought the community together. I almost went to the free vigil, but instead I went to my church that hosted just a night of prayer and unification. We prayed for the families, the government, and the teachers around Nashville, and then the families who lost their kids and mothers, grandparents. So I went to that instead, and I think it was gorgeous. Like, it was absolutely what the community needed. The next topic, though, Whitley, can you please tell our viewers about how you handle talking to your children about gun violence and the anxiety and fear that is faced in school around the subject?
So I did actually have a conversation with my kids about what happened in Tennessee. We actually had a conversation last night, talking about, what happened and how, children were killed and teachers were killed. And, we talked about it. And my youngest son actually got very emotional, because he just didn't understand, like, why would somebody, want to do this, and it kind of made him, very fearful. He asked me, he's like, well, is something going to happen to you? I don't want you to die or, be killed or something, and then I just kind of explained to him, well, baby, for one, there is evil in this world. Unfortunately, there is evil in this world. And you just have to, that's why when people are here, you do have to love on them and show them that you love them, while your time is here on this earth. And just kind of explain. He really, he once I started telling him about love, and but also to being, mindful and watching your surroundings, and just different things like that. It put him in a better space. But it's very difficult to have these conversations with your children, about things like this. It's definitely not an easy conversation, but it's one that you do have to have, because you do have to let your child know that these things actually do happen. Unfortunately, that's just the way of the world. And because I don't want my kids to ever feel naive or think that there's nothing going to happen to them in this world, or life is just so sweet and gravy. And it's really not. Things actually do happen in this world, and conversations have to be talked. And, and you have to prepare your children for different things when they go outside of this world, and just pray to God that he keeps them covered and keep them safe, because just for the world that we live in. So it was definitely a tough conversation, but a conversation that definitely needed to be had.
So, do you encourage your children to ask questions when they have them about this subject?
Oh, absolutely. Ask questions, see how they feel about it, how it makes them feel, check in on your kids and say, if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. Just different things like that. Make sure you checking in with your kids to see how they feel, because they feel things too. And, I'm sure their friends and stuff are talking about it, or, different things like that. So you want to make sure you start at home and to have those conversations with your kids at home.
So, do you feel like if one of your kids needed kind of a day off after the situation, do you think you would have let them stay home, or would you have told them, no, go into school, you need to kind of
If
face
my
the
if
fear?
my child needed a mental health day, which that'll be another episode. If my child needed a mental health day, because they just weren't feeling it, and they were having a rough time, I would definitely give them a mental health day, so
Mm,
they can process everything, talk about their feelings, and so we can move forward. Most definitely.
okay. I was asking because there were some parents of kids in this area that didn't go to the school, but just were scared after it happened. So they just let their kids have a day off of school just to kind of, regroup, collect
Yeah. Oh,
themselves,
absolutely.
feel the
Absolutely.
emotions.
Hmm.
Anyways, that concludes this episode. I just want to point out, y'all, my cat just had surgery, so he's all up in my grill, so I apologize. But
Hey.
please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Do it for my cat.
Yes.
And hit the notification bell so you can see when each episode drops. And until next time.
All right.